Former Game of Thrones actor Peter Dinklage is making headlines once again. Guys, you might remember I did a video about him a couple of weeks ago where he was raging out at the fans because we rightfully pointed out that season 8 of Game of Thrones, as a matter of fact, the last few seasons of Game of Thrones went straight down the drain. A lot of people were not happy about it, and Peter Dinklage wasn't happy about that. So he sounded off about that. So that's a separate story. Now he's actually talking about a project that I don't believe he's involved in, which would be the Disney remake or reimagining of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Of course, Disney got a Disney, and what do they do better than anything else? Remake. So that's what they're doing. So Peter Dinklage decided to sound off about this because, you know, he is a little person. So Seven Dwarfs is kind of interest to him, how they're portrayed. So let's get into how he feels about this. And once again, I believe this is one of those situations that we've come to expect where it is proven, once again, that everything woke eventually turns to shit. Okay, so let's talk about it. This is the gospel according to Mark with a C. He is I and I am he. Just taking some time to tell you exactly what's on my mind. Thank you for joining me once again, my friends. Let's jump right into Peter Dinklage's statements regarding this project, shall we? So Peter Dinklage says, with regard to Disney's reimagining and remake of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, he says, no offense to anything, but I was a little taken aback by the fact that they were very proud to cast a Latino actress as Snow White, but you're still telling the story of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. They were so proud of that. And all love and respect to the actress and the people who thought they were doing the right thing. But I'm just like, what are you doing? He urged the company to rethink the project. Take a step back and look at what you're doing there, he said. It makes no sense to me. He continued, you can be progressive in one way, but you're still making that fucking backward story of the seven dwarves living in the cave. What the F are you doing, man? Have I done nothing to advance the cause from my soapbox? I guess I'm not loud enough, he says. If you tell the story of Snow White with the most effed up progressive spin on it, let's do it. All in. Okay, so listen, when I saw this a couple of days ago, I actually figured it was a joke, the way he put it, especially with that last line. He said, if you want to tell the story with the most effed up progressive spin on it, to me, that's showing that he knows that the virtue signal is there and it's strong and it's a little ridiculous. So sarcastically, he's saying, well, why don't you also address the fact that you have like dwarves named Sleepy and Dopey? You know what I mean? That's the way I took it. You know, if you're going to go all the way, go all the way. But you know who is never going to miss an opportunity to virtue signal? Well, Dizznee, of course. So they came back and responded to Peter Dinklage after his comments. So let's get into that aspect of the story here. And this is on sky.com. Okay, so it says here, Dizznee responds to Peter Dinklage after his comments about the remake of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. Dizznee says it's consulting with members of the dwarfism community on the film to avoid reinforcing stereotypes from the original animated film. They added they were taking a different approach to these 7 characters. Guys, listen, if anyone out there has any ideas on how you can take a different approach to the story of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs and not turn it into something completely different than what it was, please sound off in the comment section. I see no way whatsoever. I mean, if you have that much of a problem with the story, Dizznee, then just don't do it, because the fairy tale is what it is. You know, any change to that would be significant. You have 7 dwarves living in the forest. Like I said, I think it's Doc, Bashful, Sleepy, Dopey, Grumpy. You know, you have all of these like crazy personalities that lends to the actual story. So how would you change that? You know, other than the inevitable lazy, let's make one black. You know, let's make one gay. You know, I mean, that's what you're doing. And ultimately, you're pretty much changing the dynamic of the whole story. So it goes on. Dizznee has responded to Game of Thrones actor Peter Dinklage, who blasted the company's remake of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, calling it effing backwards. Dinklage, who's known for playing Tyrion Lannister in the epic fantasy series, who has a form of dwarfism called achondroplasia himself, accused the studio of double standards by championing racial diversity but failing to address damaging stereotypes. Latina actress Rachel Zegler will play the princess in the live-action remake of the 1937 animated film, while Israeli star Gal Gadot will play the evil queen. Okay, so as you can see, this story has been around, well, the animated version has been around since 1937. I imagine the fairy tale has been around even longer than that. So once again, this is a situation where you're reaching back to a different time, and back in that different time, stories were presented in a different way. To bring them up to today's standards could only end up looking crazy and insane, in my opinion. Some stories just don't hold up to the standards of present day. And maybe that's a good thing. I know I actually enjoy watching old black and whites and things like that. I love watching old movies and, just checking out the way it used to be. Like, that's fascinating to me. When you bring things up to present day with all of our crazy sensibilities of today, you realize that most of those things, they can't stand anymore. And if you do change them, like I said, those changes will be significant to the extent where it's a totally different property. It's a totally different story. Doesn't even have the same effect anymore. I don't see how they could possibly do this. So what Peter Dinklage is talking about, and like I said, I thought it was a joke, but I don't see how this is going to be good for the story. But keep in mind, Peter Dinklage, like, he starred in Game of Thrones where he was repeatedly called an imp. They did a lot of short jokes at his expense. I think a lot of us just took it for what it was, part of the story, and characters say things and do things. I mean, they're unique characters. Everyone can't be up to the standards, the moral standards of every single person. So this is an example to me of how too much virtue signaling can just go wrong. You can't please everyone, even though they're trying to put their first Latina actress in the lead role. Well, look, there's going to be people who are offended on the other side of things. Sometimes you just have to tell the story. You can't please everybody that way, but if you really try hard and you're committed to it, you can make a good, entertaining story, which should be priority number one. But anyway, guys, what do you think about Peter Dinklage's statements? What do you think about Disney deciding that this is the road they want to go down to try to reimagine it and try to be as culturally sensitive as possible? Do you feel this is going to impact the story, in a negative way? Get in the comment section and let me know. As always, you can like, you can share, you can subscribe. Sorry, guys, it's early in the morning, so, it is what it is. And check me out. Thank you for listening, guys. This is The Gospel According to Mark with a C. Rock on.